Picks, predictions, bets, everything you need to know for the Christmas slate of games. There's 3 games on for Christmas. First off, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, New Year coming up. I am about to catch a flight in about an hour, but I had to sit down and make a video. I've been doing my research and I've just been hearing a bunch of different people talk about the games, and it's just like, I don't think anybody is actually aware of how crazy these games are. There's 3 division matchups. You got Cowboys, Commanders, Broncos, Chiefs, Lions, Vikings. And I've just been seeing a lot of blind kind of picks. It's just one team should upset. I'll be honest, I don't think any team's upset or, in terms of the spread and picks of that nature. But let's get right into it. I have so much to go over. So Cowboys, Commanders, we'll start there. This is a crazy game. Everybody talking about how the Commanders could upset. This is the only game I could see where the Commanders could cover. Cowboys should win, right? Their defense has not been great. That is one thing I will note. You're going to look at this number right here. Get it at 6.5. This is being recorded as of Tuesday, 12:15 p.m. So again, the lines are going to change, especially for that Lions game when J.J. McCarthy is ruled out. However, first off, if anyone's going to cover, it's the Commanders. Mention that. 44 points in the last game they played. This was the last matchup for the Cowboys. 44-22. Again, Jaden Daniels was playing. This was the game he got re-injured. So, again, can Mariota do it? Yes. But look at these rushing stats. 13 for 33 for Bill Krosky-Merritt. I obviously think Chris Rodriguez is going to handle the ball a little bit more, but if the one thing the Cowboys can do right, it's stop the run. And if the Commanders, the Cowboys are the worst passing defense in the league. So look at the fact that the Commanders will look to exploit the pass, which is why I don't even hate Jaden Daniels to throw 2 touchdowns. However, I don't trust the Commanders' offense, and that's why I like the spread number for the Cowboys at -6.5, and I wouldn't even hate taking everybody in the spread. Take the Cowboys spread, the Lions spread, and the Broncos spread. But as for the game, both defenses are terrible. Don't just blindly take the under and the +7. I'm not logged in. But again, the point being, this is a game of going to be pretty high scoring. I mean, it was 44-22 the last score. So I feel like both teams are going to score at will. I know it's a short week, but I don't really care because none of these games should be close. Should be is the good thing of my thought process is, okay, you think about the last holiday we played, Thanksgiving. All upsets. Every single game was an upset. Christmas, we're hoping for some Christmas miracles. We're hoping for something. I think it's going to be all favorites running away with it. So, again, tough decisions for what are we going to do for the games, but I like the over. Firsthand looking at the over because the Cowboys are most likely going to score 30 points. But, however, looking at their defense, they let up 30 points a game. So, it's again, the Cowboys are going to win a game. They have had a couple bad games. They played a decent Chargers zone defense. I think the Cowboys come out swinging. I like Dak Prescott to throw 3 touchdowns. I know it's a sneaky one. He definitely should go 2, but it's -200, so it's not great odds. I think for sneaky plays, you got Javonte Williams, who carried the ball 19 times in this game for over 100 yards and a touchdown. I don't know about the touchdown, but he should definitely have 100 yards, 19 carries. His carry number right now is 18, and it's plus money. Again, I don't know how efficient the Cowboys are going to run the ball in the second half, but the Commanders are one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL. So, again, Javonte should have 100 yards. If you get it on FanDuel, 100 yards right now on Tuesday as of this recording is plus 225. I don't think it's far out to say that that's going to happen. The Commanders have allowed 5 100-yard rushing yards, 5 100-yard rush games this season. Jacobs, Saquon, it's been a mess for them this season. You had Saquon last week, 132 yards on the ground right over here. You're looking earlier in the season, Devon Achane, 120 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 142 yards. I mean, Javonte Williams, the other 116-yard game. DeAndre Swift, 108 yards. So they've allowed a decent amount of 100-yard games rushing from certain players. And Javonte's a player who's going to get 100 yards on the ground. Looking at other plays, I actually think Jake Ferguson has a chance to get in the end zone. I know it's scary considering, plus 150. He hasn't scored in the past 5 games, but he's got 7 touchdowns on the season. And the last time they played this team, he had 2 touchdowns of his own. So, again, a red zone monster, 7 catches, but only 30 yards. He should get in the end zone. Again, I'm hesitant. That's the first place my mind went was Jake Ferguson touchdown. And obviously, you are going to backtrack and be like, second guessing yourself. But for me, looking at that play, it's like, Okay, it shouldn't happen. It makes no sense that it's going to happen. But so that's just, I like Ferguson to score. I know it sounds risky because he hasn't scored in a while, but I don't even hate doing a 3-leg parlay of Javonte Williams 100+ rushing yards, Jake Ferguson touchdown, and Cowboys winning by 6.5. If you do that on FanDuel, you could get a plus 874 odd boost. 100 wins you 874. I mean, that's pretty good. If you want to do half a unit, go $50, wins you 437. That's probably what I will do, just because it's not sustainable. If you do every one of those individually and you put $100 on it, I don't know what your unit price is, probably about one unit $100 in terms of what I do. But yeah, I think a good unit on Ferguson, a unit on Dallas to win by a touchdown, and then a good unit on Javonte 100+. I think it's good. If you parlay it together, $25, whatever the case may be. Second game, this game over here, Detroit and Minnesota. Now, from what I was saying earlier in the video, when I was saying, hey, everybody's talking about these games, like, I just don't feel like people are diving deep into this because we've seen all three of these teams play already this season. And again, Minnesota beat Detroit. This is the game I'm the most confident in. Let's just go ahead and go back to that game. Vikings win by 3. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was a Montgomery or somebody fumbled, and then the Vikings just kind of had a 2-score lead at some point in the game, and that was kind of what it was. They went up 24-14. That was kind of the big thing towards the end of the third quarter. Bates kicked a field goal. I mean, the Lions just, again, it's been so bad for the Lions this year. I can understand the audience's thought process, or some people being like, the Vikings here could make sense. But then you look at the line, and it's like, why is it only 6? Why is it only -6? That's what I look at, and that's first place my mind goes. Because you look at the money line, you can't see it on right now, but -250. So if we're looking at -250 for the Lions to win, that's first of all highway robbery. But something I want to point out is the fact that the Lions haven't lost back-to-back games since 2022. They're on a 2-game losing streak. Dan Campbell rarely loses 2 games in a row rather than 3 games in a row. That has not happened in a long time. So if the Lions are going to win, they're going to put up 50 points against the Vikings. The argument is, the Vikings have been doing pretty good this year in the past 3 weeks. Their defense has been doing solid. But you look at the past 3 opponents that they played the Commanders. If I could help out and scroll a little bit more for you guys to see the Giants game. But the Giants game, they held Jackson Dart to no touchdown. Jackson Dart threw for 33 yards. The Giants are a dysfunctional mess. I don't care about that. The good and competent defense that they played in Dallas, they still put up 26 points. You're telling me Max Brosmer is going to put up more than 20 points against the Cowboys? Yeah, granted, it's the Cowboys defense, but Max Brosmer, this is a guy against Seattle who threw 4 interceptions, 126 yards in a quarter and a half of football. I'll read out his stats for you. A quarter and a half of football. Max Brosmer has scored 3 points, 178 yards, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Granted, it was all against a Seattle defense that is pretty good. It's about 15th. It's the top half of the league in terms of where they are sitting in terms of their stats. But if we're looking at the game he came in and played against the Giants, I'm sure Kevin O'Connell was being, very conservative with his play calling, and he did his job, 7-9, 52 yards. But that in 2 quarters of play, that's not very good. And granted, this is the Giants defense we're talking about. The Giants have a bottom 10, bottom 5 pass defense. That's not good. So when you go ahead and play somebody like the Cowboys, you're probably thinking, Max Brosmer, I don't care. If the Giants defense is pretty much equivalent to the Cowboys in my eyes, what better is Max Brosmer going to do? And I say that because J.J. McCarthy's not playing this week. I've read the reports. Again, he has not been officially ruled out, but he did not practice Monday, and it is not looking good. Get this Lions line at -6.5 now while you can before McCarthy's ruled out by the end of the day Wednesday, and then all of a sudden, the line moves from -6 to -12.5, because that's what's going to happen. The Lions are going to run away with this game, similar to how they got beat week 1. If we go back to the Lions game, week number 1, they lost to the Packers, right? Lions lost to the Packers week 1. It was a bad loss. 27-13. then they walked all over the Bears 52-21. And I bring that up because they are going to put a 50-piece on Minnesota. I understand their defense is good. The big thing about the last game that the Vikings and Lions played is they could not get the run game involved. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery held to 25 yards, 40 yards rushing, only 11 and 9 carries. They're going to get them involved a lot more. Again, no Sam Laporta, so that's going to affect things a little bit. However, still think Amon-Ra kills that defense the way he does. 9 for 97. I think he scores a touchdown. But what I want to point your attention to is the fact that the last 2 games for the Lions, they have lost, right? It's been pretty crucial. We'll zoom in a little too much there. But yeah, they had a bad loss to the Lions. The Lions had a bad loss to the Rams, and that was a bad problem considering they were in control for most of this game. They lost it, and again, they lost to the Steelers because mainly they've been hurt in the secondary. But the problem is the Vikings are not going to be able to run the ball. Aaron Jones, granted, he's not bad. He'd probably have 60, 70 yards on the ground. I'm not doubting that. However, we're looking at the fact that the Steelers ran all over the Lions. If we go ahead and look at the Lions game log, give me a second. So this is the Lions game log in terms of the rushing yards that they've allowed this season. Let's just work backwards. Gainwell, 50 yards. Obviously, Warren had a 143-yard game. If we go backwards, they have not let up a 100-yard rusher before the Steelers game, 143 yards. The highest guys that they've let up was Jacobs with 83 yards and then Saquon with 83 yards as well. So it's like the Lions have a good run defense. Granted, there's a couple guys that are missing in terms of the secondary. Brian Branch, a huge factor. They're also missing a Kirby Joseph. A lot of players are missing. But I don't really care. I mean, if the Lions can score 27 points, yeah, granted, or 24 points against this team, I feel like with McCarthy playing, there's a chance. But with the hand injury, it really doesn't seem likely that he's going to play. Kevin O'Connell did not sound optimistic. He sounded really annoyed with the fact that, oh man, McCarthy, he's playing really well. He's been playing really good. He has a great matchup against the Lions, no doubt about it. The Lions have a terrible pass defense, and I don't even like the 18 points for that's the total line for the Vikings is 18 points. I'd expect that number to go down once Brosmer's named the starter. But again, a -6 point spread. This opened at -3.5. I wish I got it at that, to be honest. But realistically, I don't see a way possible. 1, the Lions lose this game. So if you like the money line, go for it. But 2, I don't see them losing 3 straight. This is a Dan Campbell statement game. Hey, we are still alive in the playoffs. Now, granted, Dan Campbell in past games didn't really care about postseason. What I mean by that is Dan Campbell, when he was a first-year head coach and he lost those 3, 4, 5 games in a row, he was playing to win. He wasn't playing for the first overall pick. He wasn't looking, I want to make playoffs. So it really doesn't matter if they're eliminated or not. Even if the Lions were eliminated and that line was less, say -2.5, I'm taking that. Because the Lions are going to play with willpower every single week. The Vikings are not a competitive team. They are not. 7-8, it looks like a decent record on paper. However, they have a lot of problems, especially on the offensive line. Aiden Hutchinson's going to get after it. Max Brosmer is not going to win them this game. Not only that, he's probably not going to keep them in this game. The Lions are going to score 24 at least. And this is going to be a game where they just run away with it. I think it's going to be like a 31-6, 31-12. Maybe the Vikings get 1 touchdown in garbage time. But I would be shocked if you told me the Vikings covered that spread at +6 because it's probably going to move to +12 or +10. I wouldn't be surprised. So that's the last kind of emphasis I will give you in terms of the stats, the statistical information of the factual information coming from the Lions game. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, again, I think he scores. He wasn't involved last week against the Vikings. They're one of the best pass defenses in terms of fantasy football. But again, Brian Flores, he does have a good defense. He does have a good scheme. But again, we're going to go straight back to last game. Jared Goff, 284 and 2 touchdowns against the Vikings. It's not like he didn't play good. He played really well. So again, I think Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery can get in with a pair of touchdowns. The Lions are probably going to try and go back to their bread and butter in the pass game, than the run game with, Sonic and Hedgehog and that duo, Sonic and Knuckles, if you will. But yeah, that's kind of the last thoughts for this game. And I just wanted to take a bulk of the time to talk about this game because it is the biggest just chunk where you can win now before the line just flip-flops because of McCarthy being injured. So again, the line probably won't move up substantially because a lot of people are down on the lines, and that's the thing, is you have to look at last week to this week. A lot of people were on the Buccaneers because they lost, and as soon as I've been listening to like some other podcasts, just trying to get a sense of what other people's heads are at in terms of this week, I'm just like, why did anyone take the Bucs last week? And I know it was a coin flip of a game, but I was big on the Panthers because although they played inconsistent, the Buccaneers have showed me time and time again they are not right. They don't look good. The Todd Bowles needs to go. Just looking at that team, they just don't look good. So I don't know why anyone thought that if you were watching the Buccaneers play football this year, I don't know why you would bet that. But anyway, I haven't made a video in a while, so I did not actually post it on YouTube to say, hey, the Panthers, but again, going back home, going to a flight, let's wrap this up with the final game of the afternoon. Broncos, Chiefs. This is, when doing research for this game, I was really confident in the Lions. Cowboys, I'm pretty confident they would win. But this is the game where I'm like, okay, last game, Chiefs, Broncos. Broncos won by 3. Broncos did not have a good game at all. If we're looking at it, I'll go ahead and put it back on the screen. Broncos, 22 points, 22-19. They won. They're probably going to win again, but it's just like the point spread of, 13.5. Like, we look at this game at halftime, it was 6-6. So are the Broncos going to bounce back? This is the only thing that I would consider, and it would be Chiefs first half spread. However, before you go about that, wait, stay here. Chris Aludican I believe I pronounced that correctly. Chris Aludican, Aludican. I don't know if I said it right. He is the starting quarterback with Gardner Minshew tearing his ACL. If we're looking at the fact that last week this team only put up 9 points in terms of the Kansas City Chiefs, it was not good. Now, the Broncos, granted, they didn't play typically great football either. They had some sloppy games where they had a big turnover in terms of putting the ball on the ground. 26 minutes in time of possession. They were down. They got down pretty quick in the second half. Yeah, they might have out-yardaged Jacksonville, but Jacksonville out-coached this team. So Sean Payton's going to be, all right, let's go ahead and go into Arrowhead and absolutely get right game for Denver. So it's like looking at this line firsthand, I was like, oh, Denver should kill him. But then I started to think, I was like, yeah, I don't know about that anymore. So the spread of the game scares me. What I would consider for all 3 games, -6.5 for Dallas, -6.5 for Detroit, -13.5 for Denver. I would consider doing all 3 favorites because of Thanksgiving's, upsets. Now you got the favorites on Christmas. I could see the story happening. However, I know somebody is out there saying, hey, Mike, don't you think, there's going to be one team that covers and does pretty well and is in a game? It would make sense, and I'm not too sure which game that'll be, to be quite honest. It could be the Commanders. It could be the Vikings. I don't believe it's the Vikings. I think it's a far reach that they do that. But looking at this Broncos-Chiefs game, the one difference maker is the Broncos' defensive line against the Chiefs' banged-up offensive line. When you're looking at not only a backup, but a third-string quarterback who doesn't have much experience in the NFL, yes, it's an Andy Reid system, but all it takes is the snap of a finger for things to change. And that's why I would say hold up on the first half bet for the Chiefs, because it might be 7.5, it might be 10.5. I wouldn't do any first half spread because the only reason I do the first half spread is because the Broncos could easily come out short. However, looking at the Broncos defense, the defensive line is going to eat Chris Aludican for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Denver Broncos had a defensive touchdown, and that's what I'm going to bet, because plus 650 for a third-string quarterback to, maybe throw a pick 6 is probably going to happen. To throw a pick, obviously more likely than a pick 6. But honestly, the Texans did it against Geno Smith. I would not be surprised at all if Denver said, hey, let's go get a touchdown, and it's, again, plus 650. If I could find the number here we go. 25 wins, 162. I would pair that with Denver -6.5, but it's not good odds at all. But again, if you want to keep things safe and do a parlay with all the favorites, do Denver -6.5. I think it's like -250, so it's not terrible odds. If Denver wins the game, they should win by a touchdown. I think they win by more than that. But just looking at all 3 games, it's backup quarterbacks: Brosmer, Mariota, and Aludican. Like, it just looks like a bad slate. So again, final thoughts. Broncos game is not hard to talk about. It's just, again, how many do they win by? They're going to win. How many can they win by? So again, their defense had a bad couple of weeks against the Packers. Put up a lot of points on them. The Packers and Jags both put up a lot of points on them. So I think, again, get right game for Denver. Their pass rush is going to prove why they are one of the best, if not the best in football. They're going for the record of most sacks in the league. So, again, that was the recap. 20 minutes, a little longer than I liked. I got to go catch a flight. Hopefully everyone has a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, everything of that nature. Let me know what your thoughts are in terms of what the picks are for this week, because I know it's just these just did the breakdown for Christmas in terms of what I think is going to happen. No player props, unfortunately, just because the lines aren't really there yet. Again, like I said, I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Dallas, I don't know who's going to catch the ball, but I think Ferguson finds the end zone. Broncos, I don't know. The Chiefs are actually a competent defense to where it's like, should be solid. Maybe Bo Nick sneakily. But yeah, I mean, if we're going to keep it safe, if we're going to keep it simple, if you're going to ask me, hey, Mike, what's the most confident thing? It has to be Detroit right now. If you get them at -6, great. If you get them at -10, I'm not feeling so great because of obviously the Lions and their track record this season of their bad defense the past few weeks, their injuries, and the fact that they have not looked good. Lost 2 games for the first time, back-to-back games for the first time since 2022. So, little recap. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know, comment down below. What's your favorite play for this week on Christmas? 3 slated games. It's been fun breaking it down, but it's been Mike Zanetti, Big Z Breakdown. We'll see you in the next video. Peace out.